This is really interesting. I'm trying to understand why Putin is not going to back Iran. And you would have thought that they were allies and they had signed this formal agreement. And I talked about this some time ago. Iranian parliament just hastily convened to approve the strategic partnership with Russia. Like, what took that so long from January 17th? Now, when they formed this, there was this big to-do, and I think Russia wanted a more closer relationship like they have with North Korea, where, you know, you militarily back us, we military back you. I think he was disappointed by not getting that, and the Iranians just signed this now. And it's really interesting to see how this is all playing out. So I talked at great length about what's happened all the way up through today. I just did a live stream with Greg Terry about an hour ago. So I'm not going to relitigate that. You can get everything you want and more in this live stream. So I'm not going to go back to this, but other things that we hadn't really touched on or touched on very little. Iranian state TV cryptically warned, urgent, a night the world will not forget. Stay tuned. Okay, so they are going to be hammering Israel or something, and they are sending ballistic missiles into Israel, no doubt about that. We watched that in this video. We saw some of that going on. Okay, so Donald Trump was talking about how he knows where the supreme leader lives. We're not taking him out. Not for now. And then he was talking about unconditional surrender, and he was talking about how we have complete control of the skies over Iran. Is the U.S. involved in this or what? We're trying to figure this out. As you know, Trump left the G7 yesterday early, left abruptly, and went back and was convened his Security Council, and they were all in the ready room when he got back. And then you see these kind of tweets, and I think it feels like something's about to pop off. I don't know who brought up Trump will deliver a statement soon, but there's literally not a single source saying anything like that. So we heard this a little bit on X, and then we can't find anything. So Trump met with his security team again today, called Netanyahu, and then we thought that there were going to be a statement, and there's been no statement so far. Okay. Trump considers a strike on Iran ahead of a crucial Situation Room meeting. And so we're seeing what's about to happen with that. Again, it's so bizarre seeing how he's looking at dealing with Iran and with Israel as opposed to how he's dealing with Russia, which is like with the kid gloves. Okay. U.S. officials tell the New York Times that Iran could mine the critical Strait of Hormuz if the U.S. were to enter the ongoing conflict. So if they do that here, oil prices will shoot up. That'll help Russia. It'll hurt everyone else. And I think that's going to be a bad policy. Another bad policy, the Pentagon or the Iranians are talking about how they're going to target U.S. servicemen. Bad idea. The Pentagon has raised U.S. troop readiness in the Middle East, including the UAE, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia, with over 40,000 personnel in the region. Trump's statement is expected soon, according to CNN. So we're waiting for this kind of thing, but nothing was forthcoming. Okay. Che Bowes of RT talked about it like this. Now he's talking about it from a pro-Russian, pro-Iranian perspective. As Iran's you should have an apostrophe here. As Iran's options thin out, it's either capitulation or massive escalation, mobilization, and all-out war. The Syrianization of Iran is absolutely certain if the current state collapses. Think of Libya. So it's either escalate completely or capitulate. I think he's right, and I think they're going to have to capitulate eventually. I don't think they can escalate to the point that they can beat Iran, but they have tons of missiles, sure, but Israel was striking the missile launchers as much as they could in the initial strike. So we'll see how that all plays out. Spetsnaz 007 is a pro-Russian site saying, I'm speechless. Hard to believe that's the president of the United States, because isn't he supposed to be just for peace, and he's the president of peace, and this never would have happened on my watch and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, there's those pro-Russian or pro-MAGA kind of voices are beside themselves that Trump would actually take some kind of action here or potentially do that. I saw this and I thought, well, yeah, maybe that's good advice. Former U.S. Central Command Commander Kenneth McKenzie says the only thing I can say about Fordo, that's the nuclear power plant, or not power plant, enrichment facility that they're most actively interested in right now. The only thing I can say about it is that I wouldn't want to be within 5 kilometers of it at this point. So, the question was, what does he know that we don't? I think it's pretty fair to say get away from there, because that's, yeah. Okay, the closest Papa John's, this is the Pentagon Pizza Report. You know, the pizza index, closest Papa John's to the Pentagon has experienced a surge in traffic at 5:05 Eastern Standard Time. It's not usually like that. It's busier than usual. Okay. Theocrats, this is Michael McFaul saying the theocrats in Iran are in a weak position. They should get serious about doing a deal with Trump. Time's running out, but they're not going to do that. They're going to continue to saber rattle, as we showed you in the live stream, and we showed you lots of that sort of thing. Okay. Britt Hume, political analyst, chief political analyst at Fox News. If you read nothing else about this today, read this. Israel has options with Fordow apart from U.S. bunker busting bombs. Okay, so where do you get that from? It's from this article, Can Israel End Iran's Nuclear Program? The short answer is yes, or at least delay it significantly. Now, they've gone after some of the nuclear facilities by cutting off the power to it, which will shut down the reactor, which means that it's basically destroyed. They can do the same kind of thing at Fordow or something similar, ventilation or that sort of thing, without a bunker buster bomb. But the strongest possible answer is the bunker buster bomb, but only the United States has that, and that might be what's in the works. We just don't know. Now, the real question is this. Jason J. Smart, he was asking the question about this, like, why is Russia just abandoning Ukraine? And that's a really interesting, that's a very fair statement. Like, what's going on that they're just walking away from him? Aren't they supposed to be strategic partners and all but military? I mean, like that defense agreement was supposed to be everything up to and just short of actually having military intervention if one party's attacked. Okay, listen to this.
Iran is currently being attacked. Its cities are getting bombed, its generals are being killed, and its infrastructure is being shattered. So, where's its allies? Where's its top ally? Where is Russia during Iran's hour of need? Strange. Nowhere to be found. There's no air defense coming from Russia. There's no arms shipments coming from Russia. There's not even a threat to intervene coming from Russia. And why is that? It's for a simple reason. It's because Russia doesn't defend its allies. It uses them, and then it disappears.
Yep.
And let's be clear, this isn't a policy oversight by Russia. This is the Russian strategy.
Now, remember what happened in Syria? Like, Russia just kind of walked away and was trying to get its weaponry back. Assad had safe haven in Moscow, but that's about as far as it went.
This is Russia's doctrine. Use, abandon, and then take advantage of the situation. Ask the Ukrainians, ask the Armenians, ask the Kyrgyz, ask the Syrians. Look at Ukraine. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, Ukraine inherited the third largest nuclear arsenal in the world. Now, the West pushed Ukraine to get out of that, and in 1994, Ukraine signed the Budapest Memorandum. But in return was giving up its nukes, it would receive security guarantees. And Ukraine received security guarantees from the US, the UK, and Russia in exchange for its nukes. And Russia, posing as a guarantee of peace, a friend, a partner, but 20 years later, we saw that same friend, that same partner, invade Crimea. And then we saw that same friend and partner launch a full-scale war against Ukraine. Moscow didn't just violate the treaty. It betrayed the country that trusted it. And this wasn't a mistake. This was a model. This is the Kremlin playbook.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. And that's what's going to happen to Iran. I don't think Russia's going to stick up for Iran, and Russia is losing a strategic partner in the process. Okay. Iran's Islamic regime ambassador to Russia threatened Russia. Listen to this. I mean, maybe I'm reading it wrong. You tell me. But it said this: in these critical days, when my country, Iran, is under aggressive attacks by the Zionist regime with America, the support of Western governments, and the inaction of international organizations, nations, the great nation of Iran will not forget which countries stood by us and which remained indifferent. Wow. Okay. And I think it's a veiled discussion toward Russia. Okay. All right. This is Michael McFaul saying, like, look, if Trump's going to do something, he better like reveal why. Okay. If Trump is serious about bombing Iran, he would be wise to declassify intelligence showing that the threat of Iran obtaining a nuclear weapon is imminent. The American people are not just going to take him at his word. We did that in 2003. Remember the weapons of mass destruction with Iraq? And there's a new poll that said, do you think that the U.S. military should get involved in the conflict between Israel and Iran? 16% said yes, no, 60%. So 16%, that's like all the Reagan Republicans that are left, I guess, in the country. After that, it's no. I mean, these guys, the right historically is more hawkish than the left, with the exception of Ukraine. And then there's some pushback from the left that supports Ukraine about it's a really weird thing to watch. Okay. Jeremy Corbyn in Great Britain. I asked the foreign secretary a straightforward question. Are British weapons being used by Israel to bomb Iran? He refused to answer. Okay. It's that kind of same pushback. Douglas McGregor, no. Well, what's he responding to? Breaking. Trump is considering a strike on Iran ahead of a crucial situation in the Situation Room meeting. So, yeah, I mean, the MAGA types, the pro-Russia types are kind of lining up against Trump doing this. Now, is there a chance of military action against Iran before July, U.S. military action before July? Right now, predicted, or Polymarket rather, is at a 72% affirmative. Yesterday, it was at 56.9%. But just a week ago, it was down here at like 10, 12%. This is June 11th. 1 week ago, it was at 12% chance, and it spiked to 70. Something feels like it's about to pop off. Okay. Now, final big story, Mertz is pushing back against Trump, calling for Russia in the G7. Quote, we are not sitting here in this format with warlords and not with war criminals, which is why Putin has no place at this table. That's right, because Trump was asking, well, why is Russia out of this? I mean, I think they're just embittered because you kicked them out. Well, there's a reason why they're kicked out. Like, you're just going to keep doing business with these guys, even if they're doing this to their neighbors? Okay, Zelensky showed up to the G7. He met with Prime Minister of Canada on the sidelines of the G7. I've informed him, Zelensky says, of Russia's overnight attack against our people involved 440 Iranian Shahed drones, 32 missiles, including ballistic ones. We discussed steps for continued diplomatic work with our partners, with NATO, with the G7, with the coalition of the willing. I'm grateful for the imposition of new sanctions targeting Russia's shadow fleet, a number of Russian individuals, and more than 40 companies in Russia and other countries that are helping Russia circumvent sanctions. And the upcoming tranche of over $2 billion, that's not nothing, $2 billion financed by proceeds from frozen Russian assets. So it's good for Zelensky to be there. He was supposed to be meeting with Trump and talking to him on the sidelines about air defense. That all got scrapped. Okay. Some memes are coming out. G7 Leaders Summit. Here was day one with Trump, and here's day two with Zelensky at the summit. Now, there were some weird, interesting kind of reports. This was not true. Che Baos, again from RT, reports that Israel has assassinated former Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad alongside his wife and the two sons in Tehran. Turns out to be false. Okay, now Alexander Dugin is talking about Tulsi Gabbard is at odds now with Trump. Trump is losing the most loyal friends and gives power to his worst enemies. What's going on? Well, he's kind of waking up, I guess, because this is an important thing. And Trump is tighter with Netanyahu than he is with some of his own advisors. Again, some of the memes have started. Here's a former president, and a former supreme leader hanging out in their shared apartment now in Moscow. Of course, this is all AI generated. And Bush 2.0. I think there is something to that, because when you're realizing what the actual threat is, he might actually be acting about it. We'll see how that all plays out. The Reagan caucus wrote, by defending themselves against Russia and Iran, Ukraine and Israel are defending us all. I think that's a very fair statement. I think Ukraine is defending us by fighting the Russians back. And I think Israel is doing the same by going after Iran's nukes. All right, last little bit. This is Darth Putin. I've been attacked by a nuclear power. They should surrender. Iran has been attacked by a nuclear power. They should surrender, cede land for peace, and choose a government approved by Israel. Apparently, that's how this works. Like, isn't the logic of that just so striking to you? Like, that is how Russia is seeing this, and it's bizarre that Russia would make these kinds of demands. All right, my friends, that's all that I have for today. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, and the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.